So what is going on, guys? I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another zombies video where today I want to talk about what I think is going to happen for our next few zombies maps. What's going to happen towards the end of the Black Ops 4 zombie storyline. Where exactly are we going now with our Ether characters knowing exactly what's happened after both Blood of the Dead and Classified? I haven't actually made a video on this discussing what I think's going to happen yet, simply because I was waiting for the Classified ending to be found, and now that we've finally seen it, I want to discuss what I think could be next for our zombies crew, where this is all going to end. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, a like rating if you feel like it would be appreciated. If not, it doesn't matter, guys. Thank you for tuning in anyway. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with more videos on the channel, but let's get right into it. Here we go. So since Blood of the Dead takes place before Classified, we'll begin with that, where we know our four premise characters travelled here as part of one of the cycles to collect the transit crew's blood vials. However, this time around, we know that the Shadow Man manipulated Brutus and told him when the premise crew arrive here, specifically Richtofen, he needs to trap them on the island. And that's exactly what we saw Brutus do. When Richtofen and the gang arrive to collect the blood vials, they arrive at the lab where they find out the pages to the Canorium have changed. The future of our zombies timeline has changed. What would normally happen in our cycle, well, those events are now different. And as we could tell when Richtofen read the Canorium, it told him that actually, well, he is trapped in Alcatraz and the only way for him to escape is to sacrifice his blood. The Shadow Man manipulated Brutus and Brutus trapped the premise crew in Alcatraz in this pocket dimension. Of course, the other premise Richtofen that we saw in the Blood of the Dead intro also knew about this. He obviously read the Canorium, he found out about these changes as well, and so set up a plan. As we can see, he built the machine not only for Richtofen to sacrifice himself, but he was also keeping post-Revelations Richtofen in the lab, and as we know, post-Revelations Richtofen also had a piece of the fire staff with him. And so as the premise crew attempt to escape off Alcatraz, at the end we see premise Richtofen knowing he has to sacrifice himself in order to break the cycle. He does that, he climbs in the machine, he gives his blood. Post-Revelations Richtofen is then awakened from his stasis chamber he is thawed out. He comes up to the boss battle arena, shines the fire staff crystal into the sky, which cleanses all of the evil from Alcatraz, and that is where the Blood of the Dead ending cutscene kicks in. As we've seen before now many times, as premise Richtofen is on the machine giving his blood, post-Revelations Richtofen gives NIKOLAI the Canorium and tells him that basically he is now in charge. Since he is the only one with a soul, it is up to him now to read the Canorium, learn what he needs to do, and then use that knowledge to kill Dr. Monty. We also see they destroyed the blood vials. Since the cycle is broken, they are no longer needed. They were only to continue the loop, and so since they are now unnecessary, all of the blood vials are taken and thrown on the floor, and then, using Richtofen's blood, the premise crew along with post-Revelations Richtofen open up 4 separate rifts, and they all leave Alcatraz, going their separate ways. Meanwhile, premise Richtofen bleeds out on the machine, sacrificing himself to collapse the Alcatraz dimension. And that was the Blood of the Dead ending. We saw all 4 of our characters, premise, NIKOLAI, Takeo and Dempsey, along with post-Revelations Richtofen, go off their separate ways through separate rifts. NIKOLAI, of course, had the Canorium, but all of the characters separated. And then the next time we see them is in the Classified intro, where we have the 4 Ultimus characters, NIKOLAI, Takeo, Dempsey and Richtofen, locked in one of the hangars in Groom Lake, where we know these characters have been locked in here and were planning to be used as test subjects by the Pentagon. If you aren't aware as to exactly how they ended up here, the Pentagon, along with Dr. Schuster, a former Group 935 scientist, were doing experiments on the teleporter at Groom Lake, attempting to link it to the teleporter on Moon, where one day, during their experiments, they accidentally teleported the Ultimus crew who were trapped on Moon. They teleported those guys through time and space before the Earth was destroyed to Groom Lake. When these 4 Ultimus characters arrived here, they were in very bad condition. They were basically dead but somehow still alive. NIKOLAI, Takeo and Dempsey, due to the mass exposure of 115 they had been involved with over the years, they had basically lost their minds. And as for Richtofen, his body was catatonic because he didn't have a soul. However, as we know, all 4 of the Ultimus characters were captured by the Pentagon and placed in this cage in Groom Lake. Not long after, however, zombified Richtofen teleported into the hangar where they were located. He touched Ultimus Richtofen's dead body and gave him his soul, bringing Ultimus Richtofen back to life and turning zombie Richtofen into dust. However, all 4 of the Ultimus crew were still trapped in the cage, as we can see from the classified intro. They are asking each other how exactly they got here. Takeo says, "I thought the Earth was destroyed, yet here we are." Like I said, they were teleported back through space and time by the Pentagon. They're just locked in this cage, wondering exactly what's going on. However, if you look at Ultimus Richtofen's face, it seems like he's very calm, which leaves me a bit suspicious. Does he know exactly what's about to happen? I mean, it is Richtofen at the end of the day. But suddenly a rift opens in the hangar and all 4 of the Primus characters walk out. Primus, Nikolai, Takeo, Dempsey and Richtofen come face to face with Ultimus, Nikolai, Takeo, Dempsey and Richtofen. But remember, Primus Richtofen died in Blood of the Dead. This map takes place after Blood of the Dead, so how exactly has he arrived in this hangar if he died? Well, remember in the Blood of the Dead ending, all 4 of those characters left through separate rifts, yet they arrive through one rift in Classified. So clearly an event, or maybe a few events, things happen between Blood of the Dead and Classified. They don't come straight to this map. Just like between Origins and the Giant, the characters split up, go their separate ways, do different things, and then eventually meet up again in that map. Well, clearly the same thing has happened. Between Blood of the Dead and Classified, the characters have gone off, done some things. Nikolai's gone off to read the Chronorium, learn what he needs to do, and as we can see, in between these 2 maps, they've met up with yet another version of Primus Richtofen. This could be the Primus Richtofen, the other one that we saw in the Blood of the Dead intro. As we saw, he left at the very beginning. He just said goodbye, had a smirk on his face and left. This could be that Richtofen that they met up with in between these maps. This could be another Richtofen. We're not really sure, there's so many out there, but clearly in between Blood of the Dead and Classified, a few events take place. Nikolai reads the Chronorium, the characters meet up again with a different version of Primus Richtofen, and then they travel to Classified, where when they get here, Primus Nikolai tells them, "Look, you need to come with us. There is a war to fight." Dempsey asks him, "What war?" And then Nikolai says, "The Great War." And then we don't see it, but I would assume all 8 of the characters leave through the rift. So it seems like the Ultimus crew and the Primus crew are going off to defeat Dr. Monty together. However, before they do that, I believe there's going to be a few maps, a few events that take place, a few things that they need to do before they eventually defeat him, and what I think will be probably DLC 4. Remember in the Blood of the Dead ending, post-Revelations Richtofen had the Fire Staff? Well, we've got 3 DLCs up until DLC 4, which could be the one where we defeat Dr. Monty and fight him. Is it possible in DLC 1, 2 and 3, our mission is to go off to different locations to collect the other 3 gems from the other 3 staffs, the wind, lightning and ice? Are we going to need those gems since we already have the fire, take them to the Great War and use them to defeat Dr. Monty? I think that could be a big possibility. Also, if you take your minds all of the way back to, I think it was last year when the Zombies comics got released, we had a new loading screen for Revelations. This was it up on screen now, and you can see it is Dr. Monty's perfect universe. It is his house. We can see we have our characters standing in front of the door. However, it is Primus, Nikolai, Takeo and Dempsey along with Ultimus Richtofen. And this finally explains what this loading screen meant. Our Primus crew and Ultimus crew, as we see from the Classified ending, join up and are going to defeat Dr. Monty. However, in this loading screen we only see 4 characters, whereas we see in the Classified ending it is all 8 of them that are needed. Maybe the other characters are off somewhere else, or they just split up, I don't know. Maybe they only end up needing Ultimus Richtofen in the end and take him, but I can't see that happening since we also have Primus Richtofen again. So maybe the other characters are just off somewhere else. Ultimus Richtofen has come along with the Primus crew, and Primus Richtofen is going along with the Ultimus crew. But I believe that is what we are going to be doing from DLC 1, 2, 3, leading up to DLC 4, which I think is going to be the Great War. Going back to the Great War, using the original elemental staffs that we collect along the way, we get to the Great War and we defeat Dr. Monty. That's what I think is going to happen. Obviously, there's a load of things that you could add onto here. We literally really don't know too much about the future of zombies. We haven't really been told anything apart from this. There could be other things that our characters need to do first, or who knows, maybe the Great War is going to take place in DLC 1. In fact, we don't even know how DLCs are going to work. We have two separate storylines, the Chaos and the Ether. Are Treyarch going to release 2 maps per DLC? Are they going to release an Ether map, 1 DLC, then a Chaos map, another DLC? How is it going to work? I'm unsure. But we know we are definitely carrying on with both storylines, and I truly believe this is how the Ether one is going to end. So, there we go. That is it for today's video, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. As always, if you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating. If you don't want to, it's totally fine. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. And of course, I will see you all in the next one. Until then, goodbye.